There's a lot that we don't talk about, sometimes due to embarrassment, fear, insecurities. We neglect discussions about the most common parts of our lives, things we all deal with, sometimes every day. But on the Caffeinated Gypsy podcast, together, we'll break all of those taboos and talk open and honest about shared experiences. Knowledgeable people relating things you felt but never put into words. Parenting, sex, fitness, energy, anything to connect you to your authentic self, unfiltered. Now, the Caffeinated Gypsy herself, a free spirit, world traveler with a passion for fitness and exploring topics that others might avoid. Hello and welcome to the Caffeinated Gypsy podcast. I'm Stephanie Cotton, your host. Thank you so much, y'all, for being here today. We are talking about the throat chakra today. We're getting into week 3 from my book, Lighted Up, and we're going to talk all about how we can use art and creativity to help open up our throat chakra. Before we get to that, let's talk about what's going on right now. I have a ton of stuff going on. I'm actually pretty excited about it all. I'm also drinking my coffee because it's pretty early in the morning, so if I pause, that's why. Speaking of coffee, if you follow me on Instagram at all, you've probably noticed I am working on my own coffee right now, which I'm super excited about. I mentioned this in my last podcast as well. I've been roasting my own coffee for years, and now I'm going to be sharing that with everybody. I am going to do a whole podcast for you guys, so I won't spend too much time talking about that, but that is coming. I'm not sure the exact date that's going to be released. We're still working on all the packaging and all of that stuff, but it's coming and it's super magical because it's crystal charged and it is sound charged and all that good stuff. So it's going to be really, really, really good. So look out for that. That is definitely coming. Patreon members, that's still going, guys. So if you want to join Patreon, absolutely. We have tons of space for you. There's a lot of different ways you can join Patreon. And so this is your opportunity, one, just to get a lot of one-on-one time with me. I have a group that I post in daily. I do a video every morning. It's also just a really safe place if you want to share things that you're going through. And maybe you don't have like the best support system or people that you can talk to. This is a safe place that you can talk. And also too, you can like drop questions in there and things like that. And then also if you get the highest level, that is, you get a 30-minute consultation with me every month, like a little astro update. So we get to sit down and talk every month. And that is like, I think it's $57 a month. And if I always kind of equate it to like you go get your massage every month, right? Why don't you get like a little astro update? So this is just our opportunity to sit down, talk about what's going on with you astrologically. I look at your chart. And then if there's anything else going on, we can address chakra issues. If you've had past life regression, stuff's coming up, we can talk about that. So there's lots of different ways you can be involved in Patreon. So if you want to do that, you can head over to Patreon. Go to Caffeinated Gypsy, or if you go on my website, there's a link on there, or if you go on Instagram, if you hit my bio, there is the link on there as well. So lots of different ways. Caffeinated Gypsy Soul Mug is out right now, so if you want to pre-order that, those are going to ship out mid-August. And that is helping to fund my coffee venture. So if you purchase one of those, you are helping me get all of this stuff off the ground, which I'm pretty excited about. And then what else is happening? Next week. So if you are listening in real time, we are going to be doing a full moon coffee and crystals ritual next week. That's going to be next Wednesday. That's August the 14th. And I'm doing 2 different times. One at 1 p.m. Eastern Time and one at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So I'm trying to accommodate my people that are all over the world. I know I have listeners that are all over the place. So I was trying to find some times that hopefully people could work with. And that's going to be super fun. I'm really excited to introduce a coffee ritual to you guys, and that's something you're going to be seeing a whole lot more. I've been working on this for a really long time. Coffee is really, really important to me. There's a lot of magical benefits to coffee. There's a lot of good health benefits to coffee. And so I've been working on this ritual, and now I'm like, okay, we're gonna do this. I'm really excited about it. So we're gonna be working with coffee. So all you have to do is sign up. There is a link on my website, so you can either go to my products page, or if you go on Instagram, there should be on my link tree, the first thing on there is this full moon caffeinated or coffee and crystals ritual. And so I will be sending out a supply list for that. It's super simple, guys. All you're going to need is just a little bit of coffee. We're not even going to do a whole cup. The purpose of this isn't to drink a whole cup of coffee, but we're really just working with the properties of coffee, which help open up all the chakras. They help connect you to that higher power, source energy. So we're going to be working with the coffee. So bring your own coffee. You're going to need something to sage with, and then your favorite crystals, and just an open mind and open heart. So I'm really excited to be doing that. And it's going to be online, which is even better because then I get to work with everybody. So if you want to do that, go sign up. It is registration only. Once you sign up, then you'll get an email from me confirming everything and giving you the link to the group. I think that's all the updates for right now. There's so much going on. I told you guys, like, during Mercury in retrograde, like, I couldn't wait for it to be done because it was going to be like full steam ahead, and I get so busy towards like the end of summer. I'm like, okay, I gotta do all the things, and I think it's because I know come winter I'm gonna be like a sloth. Oh my goodness, the struggle is real, y'all. All right, let's talk about this throat chakra. This has been coming up a ton in my work with people. And I don't know if it's just because the nature of my work, I tend to pull stuff that I gravitate towards. And a lot of times it's like really about opening up that throat and voicing things. And I think this is just something as women in general right now, we need to be doing. I talked about this a little bit with that last new moon that we had with Iris. It's, we've been suppressed just as women for so long that now we're really starting to feel that rise of sacred feminine energy that's like, no more. We need to speak our truth. And I've found a lot in past life regressions with people where we've just been for, lifetimes, repressed, abused, held back. And so I think we're really seeing, what is the word I'm looking for? I feel like really stepping into ourselves finally. And I think there was maybe a lesson that needed to be learned for our souls as females. And I think it's about us really kind of taking back our power. And when I say that, it sounds very, vigilante, and it's not that I mean it in that way, but it's really about saying like, no, there's room for masculine and feminine energy. And it's okay for me to stand up for myself. It's okay for me to follow what my desires are. And I think that is something that I feel really passionate about because I see it over and over again with my clients, with, even in my personal life, I see it with people, is that there's very much this dominant male energy in the world still. And we tend to kind of just cave to that a lot of times. And what happens, and this is for male and female, is that when we cave to that, we're really shutting down that feminine side of ourselves. And there's an Instagram account I highly suggest you guys go follow. It is Sacred, let me make sure I tell you guys right, Sacred Health Wellness. I can never remember Instagram handles. And the lady who runs this, her name is Jan Cathcart. Sorry, Jan, I know I probably messed up your last name. But she is really, she's just amazing, first of all. But she works a lot with sacred feminine energy, and her account's awesome. So go follow her because I feel like she's going to be, in the next year, you're going to see even more stuff coming out of her. And she works a lot with healing this. So pay attention to that because that's definitely something that I think is really on the rise. I know we've seen it, but I think it's really going to start bubbling over even more with some of the placements that we have astrologically in this next year. So with that, our throat is something that I feel like we're really feeling this, like we've got to exercise it. And if you're feeling like you just have to work on your throat chakra, I was talking with a client the other day. She was like, hey, I feel like I've done a lot of work in maybe a past life in my root and sacral, and now I really want to work on my throat chakra. And, I always say, you're the best judge of this, guys. Like, I will tell you, start at the bottom. And this is always sort of my disclaimer. I do feel like probably like 75% of the people out there need to start with their root, at least for a little while, because you need to be really grounded and secure before you open up some of the higher chakras so that you're able to handle it. But if you're like, no, I'm good, like I feel like I'm ready, then you do that like 100%. Like, I believe that everybody knows what's best for them. So if you feel like you're ready to jump to their throat, jump to their throat. And if you get in there and you're like, ooh, this was a little too much right now, you can always go back. There's no law that says you can't go back. So I feel like this is something that a lot of women especially are like, I need to start speaking my truth. So the mantra for this third week is the world needs my creative expression. And so this is something also I think we've really seen shut down over the last, 10, 20 years is art and creativity. You see it in school all the time now, right? What's the first thing they cut? Music and art. And this is something that we need, like as our soul, we need to have a way to express ourselves creatively. And usually we look at this as like something that's like frou-frou-y or like, it's optional or it's like, a luxury. Creativity is not a luxury, y'all. This is how we get shit out. This is where we find all of our ideas. So this week, we have a couple of activities to help get you a little bit creative. So we're going to start with the journal assignment first. The journal assignment is you're going to reflect on how you express yourself creatively to the world. Do you have a creative outlet? Do you find yourself blocked creatively? If you don't have a creative outlet, think back to your childhood and reflect on what kind of creative play you enjoyed. And then why did you stop this creative expression? So think back to when you were a kid, right? What was your favorite thing to do? So I have girls, right? My girls are 7 and 9, and they are always doing something creatively. My daughters love to paint. They love to draw. They love to do dress up. They love to create. Like, they love it. Love it. They love to make music. They write songs. And I love that. And I think back to my childhood, and I'm like, I was so creative. And then somewhere along the lines, of becoming an adult, somebody was like, you don't have time for that. That's a waste of time. You need to get serious. And so that's something I've really been working on. Last summer, I really dove into just finding my creative side because I've never really thought of myself as creative. And I guess for me, like in my mind, creativity always was like, you have to be like a painter or a drawer or something like that. And all of the women in my family are highly creative. They can just come up with these things and like they can sew and they can do beading and they can do all these cool crafts. And I'm like, that's not me. But what I found is I am really creative with like visual arts. I'm really creative with photography. I dove into photography a couple years ago, and that was so healing for me. And then last summer, I was really working on like, how can I do something outside of like my comfort zone? I started working with like resin pours, and I made this like awesome like chakra bench. So when I started doing those things, I started noticing how much better all of my chakras felt, and it started opening me up to other things creatively. My work just became like even more heightened because I was opening up that channel. So go back and just think about, if you're not creative, like what did you love to do as a child? Like what made you happy? What things do you want to explore? Like what have you had like kind of sitting in the background where you're like, if I had time, or if I didn't have kids, or if I didn't have these jobs or whatever that you're not doing? This has to be a priority. This is part of your overall spiritual wellness, is that you're doing something as a creative outlet. Because what happens is when we take all that stuff that's not working for us and we put it into something creatively, we're letting it go. It's another way of just releasing. I talked about this in my last podcast about how animals in the wild get stuck in trauma. So a really great way to release trauma from your body is put it into something else. When I was in school for counseling, they have a whole form of like art therapy, and they'll have people go through and do like different types of art to get the trauma out, to express themselves. If you ever watch therapists work with kids, a lot of times they'll have them draw, they'll have them do things to get this stuff out in a creative outlet. You're never too old to do something creatively or art. So think about, what do you want to do, or what have you held yourself back from doing creatively? Even if you're not good at it, guys, that's not even the point of it. The point is that you're doing something. So think about that. And then your assignment for this week is going to be to work on finding ways to express yourself. Go back to that journal assignment and think about, like, what did you love to do? What was your way of expressing yourself? How do you feel like you would express yourself? So if you have been like, man, I want to try pottery, go take a pottery class. Go take a painting class. Just go grab a canvas and throw some paint on it. Even if you don't know what the hell you're doing, just do it. There's so many different ways that you can be creative, and don't worry about how it looks. Don't worry about if it's, good. This is not about judgment. This is about you tapping into that creative side of yourself and expressing yourself. And as you start to do that, you're going to start to notice that throat chakra is starting to slowly open up. There's a lot of different ways to express yourself. It's not all just verbal. Sometimes it's how we put things out into the world. Art is your ability to put something out into the world and express yourself in a non-verbal way. So think about that. I want you guys to work on that. And if you do something, post it to Instagram. I would love to see it. I love to see when people start working on art with their throat chakra, because it's amazing the things that come out. And especially those of you who have had, like, if you're doing any type of healing work right now, like if maybe you've been working with me for past life regression, or you're doing any type of like shamanic journeying or Reiki or like whatever, this is huge for you. If you're a healer, huge. You've got to have an outlet. Start doing something creatively to start moving this energy. And then I want you to notice how you feel after you do it. Like, I always feel a million times better. Like, I always equate doing something creatively to like a good workout. Obviously, it's not doing anything for my physical body, but I have that same sort of like release, like, oh, this is it. I feel so much better. There's a reason that most like artists are like angsty. They're trying to put everything into their art, right? There's a reason for that, because they've had something probably happen along the way, or they're channeling all that energy so they can put it into their art. So find something that you can do to express yourself creatively. And if you do something cool, post it on Instagram, tag me in it. I'd love to see it. All right, you guys. So that is going to be it for this week. Remember, you can always find me at caffeinatedgypsy.com or caffeinatedgypsy on Instagram. Until the next one. Bye. For all the people who judge without knowing, just throw the peace on, tell them good.